The 80s were a period of economic boom and cultural marvels in Japan. Neon lights, city pop, fashion, film, and animation, the 80s saw a rise in everything as Japan soared economically. With this came the VHS, which became a mode for creating original video animations, among other things. With this new format, one could bypass or just not care about censorship as it wasn't to be aired on television. This created a market for mature animations catering to a grown audience in both Japan and the West, and they wanted to see everything controversial: sex, nudity, gore, blood, and, of course, violence. The type of violence that doesn't call it a day with a simple off-screen gunshot, but revels in scenes such as limbs being ripped off and bloody messes. In this video, we're going to go over 10 such animated works, be they films, miniseries, or OVAs, that are as violent as they get, and in some cases, they make Fist of the North Star feel like child's play. This upcoming list is also heavily full of spoilers, but in our defense, it's been 3 decades, so, get on it. Before getting into the content, we'd like to make a very small request to our viewers. Please subscribe to the channel, like and comment on our videos, and press the bell icon to be notified whenever we upload new content. We'd be grateful to you, and we hope to bring you the best nerdy content in the future, so without further ado, let's get right into it. Demon City Shinjuku, 1988. Starting off strong, we have Yoshiaki Kawajiri's Demon City Shinjuku. Released in 1988, this action fantasy horror is an absolute cult classic. The film revels in its violence, brutality, and chilling atmosphere, not shying away from the occasional NSFW scene. Today, it's considered to be a pioneer of the Senki urban fantasy genre, as it showcases an apocalyptic battle involving fantasy elements within an urban premise. The original story is written by Hideyuki Kikuchi, who's renowned for other popular works such as Wicked City and Vampire Hunter D. Demon City Shinjuku introduces us to a dystopian and hellish Shinjuku that's been overrun by demons. This unusual transformation of the popular Tokyo ward took place a decade prior to the events of the story. Former friends and students of the sage Aguni Rai, Rebi-Ra and Genichiro Izayoi duked it out amongst one another in Shinjuku. To secure the win, Rebi-Ra allowed himself to be possessed by demons for the sake of demonic power, but this new power triggered the demonic quake. Manifesting as a massive earthquake, this calamity devastated Shinjuku, and it was caused due to Rebi-Ra's desire to summon demons and conquer the world. Consequently, the world was overrun by evil demons and monsters, making it uninhabitable for the average human being, thus creating the titular Demon City Shinjuku. Meanwhile, Genichiro Izayoi was defeated. A decade passed. One fine day, the world president, Kazumi Rama, was attacked by Rebi-Ra's cursed plants on television. The president was then sent into a coma due to the dark magic. Meanwhile, Genichiro's son, Kiyoya, who had inherited his prowess, witnessed the attack on Kazumi Rama on television. Because the threat Rebi-Ra posed could not be ignored, Aguni Rai contacted the section chief of Japan's Information Bureau to get in touch with Kiyoya. After the sage met with him, he explained to him how both his father and Rebi-Ra used to be students of his and filled him in on Rebi-Ra's descent into evil for the sake of demonic power. In fact, Rebi-Ra had attacked the president while he was protected by Aguni Rai, and he needed to keep his old master occupied for the sake of his plans. Kiyoya was tested using a commando cyborg, and it was eventually revealed that he only had 3 days to take down Rebi-Ra, as he had put a life-threatening curse on the president and was about to be used as a ritual sacrifice, as Rebi-Ra wanted to use him to bring the demon realm to Earth. In fact, this is what he had attempted to do a decade prior, but his failure led to the demon quake instead. Kiyoya was eventually approached by an emotional Sayaka Rama, who was the president's daughter. Like Aguni, even she pleaded with Kiyoya as she wanted her father to be saved. He brushed her off at first, but eventually she got herself in trouble by getting to Shinjuku, where she was about to lose her life to a horde of demons. Kiyoya came to her rescue, kickstarting their adventure in the heart of the Demon City, all while Rebi-Ra was unaware of his former rival's son having acquired the power to give him a run for his money. Kiyoya and Sayaka encountered many enemies deep in the evil city overrun by demons. At one point, they were attacked by one of Rebi-Ra's 3 powerful demon guards, the Spider Demon. The demon consumed an old woman who was trying to help them and went on to attempt the same with Sayaka. As a result, it got itself involved in a violent battle against the unlikely hero and was slain. Meanwhile, Rebi-Ra grew enraged as he lost his precious guard and sent an illusionary demon to attack the duo. This demon initially had greater luck than the spider, as it was able to ambush and almost kill Kiyoya while he was trying to get to Shinjuku Station. Fortunately, Kiyoya persevered and the demon was taken down. The duo eventually found an ally in a man named Mephisto, who brought them to his home so that they could recover. He filled them in on the situation in Shinjuku, but soon after, Kiyoya almost fell into the clutches of the Lady Demon. Thankfully, Mephisto killed her. Following Kiyoya and Sayaka's departure from Mephisto's place, Kiyoya encountered someone he perceived to be Rebira, but he was scared into a trap by bats and put into a trance by Rebira. However, he was freed from the clutches of the Dark Lord by Sayaka. As the climax kicks in, Kiyoya prepares to fight Rebira, but Sayaka was taken to be used as a sacrifice so that Rebira could facilitate the entry of the demons into the human world. In the ensuing battle, Kiyoya had the shorter end of the stick as he was blasted away by the Dark Lord even after impaling him with his sword. Fortunately, he ended up getting his hands on his father's sword, Ashura, and gained Genichiro's strength. At the same time, the demons had begun to enter the human realm, but Sayaka was still alive. Before she could be sacrificed by Rebira, Mephisto arrived to rescue her, while Kiyoya took down Rebi. The demons were forced back to where they came from, while the president's curse was broken. As the film comes to a close, Kiyoya is reminded by Mephisto that they might require his services once more in the future, and everyone goes their separate ways. Throughout the film, we're exposed to a fair amount of eerie imagery, violence, and gore, such as a wasteland of skeletons, a two-headed dog covered in oozing blood with visible ribs through torn flesh, injured demons used to depict gore, and limbs flying all over the place. Sayaka was threatened with sexual assault, but she was thankfully saved before she had to go through that. All in all, the film has a fair amount of body horror, gore, and violence, with the occasional use of alcohol and profanity. There is nudity if you squint, so by every parameter, the film is far from something you'd watch with your children. But a world on the brink of an apocalypse is supposed to be uncomfortable, as humanity faces extinction in the face of demonic conquest until Kiyoya joins the party. Sokihei MDge, 1986. The 1986 action film Sokihei MDge is a 47-minute-long experience that, similar to Demon City Shinjuku, takes us to a post-apocalyptic world. The term Sokihei literally translates into armored, which fits with the film as it revolves around protagonist Geist, a genetically engineered soldier on the planet Gera, designed to be the best of its kind. He is considered to be the most dangerous soldier and was created for victory in a very long war. The film shows us a world where human civilization has expanded beyond Earth, with humanity living across multiple star systems and as the colonizer of several different planets. One of those planets was Gera, which was witnessing a war between the Gera regular army and the rebelling force, the Nexrum army. The MC, Geist, was part of the Gera Special Forces. Using a new scientific method called the bioclone theory, Geist was enhanced as a soldier to be extraordinary, leading to his incredible prowess and ferocity. In a way, he's like Captain America without the self-righteousness. In fact, his antics and overwhelming desire for violence got so difficult to deal with that he was placed in suspended animation in a stasis pod. The pod was launched into Gera's orbit, and it remained there for several years. Eventually, the stasis pod crashed on Gera, awakening Geist. He found himself in a desolate city where he encountered a group of bandits. He witnessed the leader kill a soldier who was donning a powered suit to get his hands on that suit. Geist squared up with the leader for taking the dead soldier's suit, and the two engaged in a fight to the death. Unfortunately for the leader, his opponent was the most dangerous soldier, and he obviously bit the dust as he was killed by Geist. Good thing he died before having his mistress, Paya, switch teams, as she was attracted to Geist's inhuman strength. However, Geist wasn't interested in her. The only thing he cared about was that she could share her knowledge about the activities of the armies who were warring, that is, Gera's army and the Resistance. The victory also made Geist the new leader of the bandits. Geist eventually spotted a land battleship of the Gera army which was getting attacked by the Nexrum. This was great, as he needed money, but Paya was against him siding with the regular army. However, Geist believed that the Nexrum was chasing after the tank due to the regular army being undermanned. This meant that they were desperate and would be willing to pay him more. Geist, some of the bandits, and Paya wound up helping the regular army out against the Nexrum, and it was then time to discuss prices, as the army had found a capable ally. But this also came with Geist being tasked with a mission to stop the Death Force, which was a doomsday device of the regular army, meant to be activated as a final military program if they lost to the Nexrum. Now, this device had to be stopped because its purpose was to eliminate all life on Gera, regardless of species, by unleashing killer robots on the planet. The countdown to the detonation of the Death Force began once a high-ranking official from the regular army was assassinated, and it was now showtime for Geist. He put on his powered suit, which he had customized to suit his fighting style, to get to the Brain Palace that hosted the computer that could control the Death Force. The leader of the Noah Guards, Colonel Kreutz, and Geist were the only two people who survived the assault, as everyone else was killed following their invasion of the Brain Palace. In a twist of events, we found out about Kreutz wanting to kill Geist, and as a result, activating an advanced security robot once the two got close to the computer. An extravagant, mecha-like battle commenced between the suited Geist and the advanced robot. Kreutz took this opportunity to deactivate the Death Force, hoping that his robot would take care of Geist. To his misfortune, Geist took incredible care of his precious robot by ripping it apart with his very bloodied hands. Following this, he went on to reactivate the Death Force now that alliances and purposes had gotten blurred among the sides. A frightened Paya witnessed Geist's actions as he started the timer once again. As the film comes to a close, Geist lifted Paya by the neck and claimed that the game was not yet over. This film gets a bit of a bad rap, but it revels in its atmosphere, soundtrack, non-stop violence and bloodshed, as well as the nudity and robotic warfare. And in the 80s, these were some of the most essential elements necessary to keep the audience engaged with the media. Urosuki Doji, Legend of the Overfeiend, 1989. A paranormal horror action from 1987, Urosuki Doji, Legend of the Overfeiend is an OVA created by Toshio Maeda and directed by Hideki Takayama. The storytelling shines within its grim atmosphere with doses of sexualized themes, violence, and humor. As an original video animation that was released on VHS back in the day, a story like Legend of the Overfeiend could get away with showing a lot, and with that, we got a great deal of violence, which we kind of expected. But to top it off, this film was the first instance of tentacled sexual assault in Japanese animated media. It was created to be cruel and off-putting, specifically because the director wanted to use violence due to the impact it could have on the human psyche. The premise of this film is its most interesting aspect. It revolves around a world separated into 3 realms, one for humans, one for beasts, and a hellish one for demons. Every 3,000 years, the 3 worlds reunite as the titular Overfeiend, a super god, is revived. Among all 3 realms, humans are the weakest. This world is the one we live in. It's our regular world, but some humans aren't averse to using sacrifices as blood magic to gain access to the other 2 worlds. Meanwhile, the humans are generally used as nutritional sources by the creatures of the demon realm. Not just as food, but with the Lovecraftian hentai, we get to see how human women are also used as sources of pleasure. Then, we have the beast realm, populated by humanoid man-beasts with powers comparable to and sometimes greater than that of demons. And finally, the hellish demon realm is the most depraved of all, a dog-eat-dog world in the worst possible way. It's chaotic, brutal, and it thrives on misery and sexual dominance. Coming to the Overfeiend, we're introduced to the concept of its reappearance every 3,000 years as a rumor. Some believe it's wicked, some believe it brings change. All in all, the realms don't agree with one another's ideologies regarding the Overfeiend, which triggers a 300-year-long war between the man-beast realm and the demon realm. The demons believe the Overfeiend is all things wicked, while the man-beasts believe the being will bring about a change that will usher in the creation of a paradise known as the Land of Eternity. This might even result in uniting all the realms. And this brings us to our protagonist, Amano Gyaku, a man-beast who we're introduced to in the human realm. He's been observing a Japanese school student called Tatsuo Nagumo, who is a hypersexual, lecherous guy, allegedly meant to be the host body for the Overfeiend. His realm, the man-beasts, are in a race against the demon realm to find the Overfeiend. For the man-beasts, they want to study it. The demons, on the other hand, wish to annihilate the being while it is nascent, as they don't want the Overfeiend to disrupt their monopoly over their brutalities, such as sexual assault and complete violent domination, by either causing the destruction of hell or the union of all 3 realms. Gyaku wants to ensure a safe future for the realms, holding on to his belief of the paradise-like Land of Eternity. He's joined in his journey to find the Overfeiend by his nymphomaniac sister Megami and his friend Kuroku. They eventually team up with Nagumo as well as the human girl Akemi Ito. As the unit goes on to encounter more and more demons, Gyaku's ideals about the Land of Eternity are tested, especially in the face of demons who are willing to do anything to prevent the union of the worlds. This film is full of rape scenes, diverging from the manga in that sense, as the director himself wished to make his work repugnant due to his desire to evoke a response from the audience. In fact, there are so many hypersexual scenes that the film is as action-oriented as it is hentai, making it equal parts violent and NSFW. Due to its bizarre and taboo sexual content, the film has gotten banned or heavily censored across multiple countries. It has overall been the frontrunner for giving anime a bad rap, at least back in the day. Violence Jack, 1986. Violence Jack by Go Nagai is a series that follows the creator's magnum opus, Devilman, and presents a story in an alternate timeline. The titular Violence Jack is a reimagined version of Akira Furo, the protagonist of Devilman who merged with the demon known as Amon. The premise is set in the Kanto region, now ruined after experiencing a massive earthquake triggered by a comet strike. The scale was so huge that it went on to become infamous as the Great Kanto Hellquake. The calamity cut the Kanto region off from the rest of the world. The remaining survivors created their own social system, one in which their world is divided between the strong and the weak, laying down the foundation for a world brimming with violence. As such, Kanto became a safe haven for all kinds of crimes, such as murders and rapes. Meanwhile, the anti-hero protagonist, Violence Jack, appears out of nowhere after the Hellquake and begins to wander across Kanto looking for a fight. He would often seek out street fights against those who he considered a threat, mainly the criminals, and to protect the weak against crime. Basically, if Kanto was Gotham, Violence Jack would be a broke-ass Batman. Violence Jack starts using a large jackknife, slashing his opponent while boasting the muscles of a gorilla and a height of 7 to 10 feet, along with wolf-like fangs and burning eyes. For some reason, his presence is prone to inciting violence amongst others as well as the land, as the towns he visits get subjected to earthquakes while the people around him often feel the desire to be violent and end up attacking him. While this world lives with little means in their wastelands, the Slum King, who is the antagonist of the show, lives in his grand fortress. He remained locked away by his family while growing up due to his ever-growing musculature, which was restrained by a set of heavy samurai armor. At one point, he discovers his father sleeping with his tutor and violently murders both of them as well as the rest of his family, after which he goes MIA before becoming a sadistic warlord ruling over the majority of Kanto. His cruelty was feared, and rightfully so, as he would dismember the limbs of those who angered him or even cut off their tongues. He's also one of the very few with the power to take Violence Jack head-on. Meanwhile, Jack, despite being a protector of the weak, has a lust for violence as well, to the point that fights involving him can come with tremendous collateral damage, such as the deaths of bystanders. The final chapter of the manga later revealed how the Slum King was the reimagination of Satan's second-in-command, Xenon, while Ryo Asuka himself appears as Ryo Asuka and sides with Akira Fudo's Violence Jack. However, in this series, Ryo is constantly humiliated by the Slum King as punishment, and at one point has his limbs cut off and is made to walk on the stumps like a dog. Eventually, Ryo regains his memories of being Satan and resumes his attack on humanity, with Zenon on his side, but this time, Akira's Devilman emerges victorious. The show is full of gore, body horror, sexual assault, and overall violence. The infamous third episode exposes us to cannibalism in a manner of sexual horror, where a woman named Junko is assaulted by the Slum King's men. Her body is then cooked and served to the prisoners, including her lover. Go Nagai's agenda with his depiction of brutality was done to depict the scale of moral corruption within society. Angel Cop, 1989. While this miniseries went on beyond the 80s to 1994, the first of the 6 parts came out in '89. Directed by Ichiro Itano, Angel Cop depicts a version of a near-future Japan which is politically charged and very violent. The country has fallen victim to unsettling terrorist threats as the largest economy of the world faces an immense threat from a radical communist group known as the Red May as it seeks to destroy Japan's economy. To combat this situation, Japan forms a special security force to operate outside the law, bringing us to the no-nonsense Agent Angel who has to protect Japan from threats both in and out of Japan. As the members of the Red May start to get hunted down, it's revealed that the hunter is not the special forces by 3 failed military bioweapons who have gone rogue. Shootouts, graphic imagery, body horror, blood, and gore are ever present in Angel Cop. Another glaring issue has been its anti-Semitic plot points, which were edited out during the English dub. Many viewers believe that Angel Cop is a fantasy catering to the Japanese nationalists who wished for Japan to be a world superpower. To top that off, the story depicts the Jews as those threatening Japan while wishing to use the country as a wasteland for radioactive garbage. There are depictions of Jewish people controlling the United States behind the scenes as well, and the entire depiction gets aggravated due to Japan's role as an Axis power alongside Germany during World War II. If that wasn't enough, the final dialogue of the show is, "If this is justice, then I'm a banana." Fortunately, lame dialogue tends not to fly with the general public, regardless of how much media literacy a generation has. Wicked City, 1987. Before Demon City Shinjuku, Yoshiaki Kawajiri directed Wicked City, once again written by Hideyuki Kikuchi. A horror anime film, Wicked City introduces us to an 80s Tokyo where humans and demons coexist in two separate realms. Every 500 years, a peace treaty is signed for the sake of fragile coexistence, and meanwhile, a group called the Black Guard employs people to fight off the radicals from the demon realm who are against mutual peace due to their belief that humans are inferior. The protagonist, Taki, is a Japanese man who has a 9-to-5 day job and is part of the Black Guard by night. After a rendezvous with a girl he picks up at his bar of choice, the ensuing night reveals that she's a spider demon who's trying to take his life. Taki fights her off as he is accustomed to fighting demons, but she escapes with a sample of his DNA. With the 500-year mark coming to an end, the peace treaty is due for renewal, and it requires the presence of the diplomat Giuseppe Maillard. The morning after the one-night stand goes wrong, Taki gets assigned for the job to protect Giuseppe Maillard, for which he has to work alongside a demon woman known as Sokihei, who is part of the Black Guard as well. But this makes her a traitor to her kind, at least in the eyes of the radicals, so eventually they're attacked, and Sokihei is sexually assaulted by her former lover. Taki saves her, and they head out to find an escaped Giuseppe Maillard, who has fled to a bathhouse due to his sheer perversion. When they find him, we witness Maillard being sucked in by a demon woman. He's rescued, but on the way, Sokihei is attacked once again, this time by a parasite the demon woman had embedded within Maillard. The parasite grows into a tentacle-like structure that violently assaults Sokihei. She's abducted and assaulted by several radicals, and now Taki, who has seemingly fallen for her, turns his back on his duty to save her. A fight ensues, and he manages to defeat all the radicals bar the boss, who survives a cracked skull due to acquiring the strength of his team by absorbing their remains. As Sokihei is rescued, the two of them get attacked by the Spider-Woman once more, who's gotten Taki's DNA sample analyzed and confirmed that he's capable of procreating with Sokihei, a feat that shouldn't be possible between a man and a demon. But doing so can only help create permanent peace, much to the chagrin of the radicals. So she attacks the duo and Giuseppe in a fast-paced car scene. She manages to capture Taki and Sokihei in her webs and slashes at them, but is taken down by a lightning strike. It's eventually revealed that Giuseppe Maillard was assigned to protect them and not the other way around, as they could create permanent peace by procreating, which is revealed following a lovemaking scene between Taki and Sokihei. In the final battle, the boss of the radicals is defeated once and for all, with Sokihei landing the final blow, and peace is attained. While the film isn't as violent when it comes to action in comparison to the former entries of this list, its true violence lies in the ultra-graphic sexual scenes, most of them involving Sokihei getting assaulted, particularly the one where she's taken by the radicals after her abduction. It does feel overdone after a point since she cannot seem to catch a break, but on the bright side, things end well for both her and Taki. But the intensity of these scenes definitely contributes to Wicked City acquiring a notorious reputation to the point that it takes away the visual shock from the body horror. Gver Out of Control, 1986. The 1986 OVA Gver Out of Control is an adaptation of Bio Booster Armor Gver by Yoshiki Takaya. But one of the biggest distinctions between the manga and the anime lies in the latter being much more gory and action-packed than its source material. The story follows teenage protagonist Sho Fukamachi, who accidentally finds himself bonded with the titular Gver, which is an extraterrestrial body armor. This armor bestows upon him supernatural abilities. The plot kicks off with the Malmot, a test subject for the bioweapon known as Zoonoids, stealing the Gver units. In the process, he's ambushed by thugs from a secret organization known as Kronos, who wish to transform every human into a Zoonoid. But Malmot dies early into the story following a battle against the Zoonoid Gregoyle, as he had a decaying form and is in fact killed brutally. The following explosion causes the Gver units to get scattered across the area. Sho and his friend Mizuki discover Gver 1, with Sho donning the armor. Gregoyle returns and is about to bite off Mizuki's head when Sho pounces on him to engage him in a bloody fight while sporting the unit. The fight ultimately ends with Sho brutally ripping off Gregoyle's arms, crushing his horns and decapitating him, shocking the Kronos members who cannot stomach the sight of their leader being taken down with relative ease. But before they can run away, Sho slaughters the living daylights out of them. The next day, Sho gets into another battle with a Zoanoid named Vamor after his friends Takeya and Morio are killed by a Kronos sniper while Mizuki is taken captive to be abused. Using the Mega Smasher for the very first time, Sho decimates his opponents. Meanwhile, a woman from Kronos named Valkyria gets her hands on the Gver 2, and her transformation displays her nude with tentacles from the unit entering her body through her orifices as it merges with her. At the same time, Sho isolates himself in an abandoned shack as he's devastated over the death of his friends. He keeps visualizing Mizuki getting tortured by the Kronos thugs and is eventually discovered by Chief Ishiwatari from the organization. An enraged Sho transforms and lets off a small explosion, and the bio-boosted Sho attacks the Japanese base of Kronos. He violently takes down Zoanoids and goes on to battle Gver 2 or Valkyria. The aftermath of the battle shows Sho damaging Valkyria's control metal and shattering it with a punch. Her Gver devours her in a grotesque change of events, and Sho uses the Mega Smasher once more to kill her permanently. Gver 3 arrives soon after and frees Mizuki after killing the leader of Kronos Japan, Genzo Makishima. Gver 1 takes the unconscious Mizuki to safety while the tanker erupts around them, covering the place in fire. The next day, things return to normal as the base destruction is written off by the media as a mere tanker explosion caused by oil and gas cargo combustion, while the two Gvers are never seen again, leaving Mizuki yearning for Sho. Throughout every battle, we see violence and body horror as the ruthless Gver 1 fights against the monstrous Zoanoids. The brutality in these scenes is too hardcore and leaves little to the imagination of the audience, contributing to this OVA being a perfect entry for this list. Goku Midnight Eye, 1989. Yoshiaki Kawajiri returns with the 1989 miniseries Goku Midnight Eye. A cyberpunk anime blending technology, dystopia, suspense, and a noir aesthetic, this story introduces us to former detective Goku Furinji, who acquires a cybernetic eye implant that can control any computer system and has X-ray abilities. The film is set in the future of 2014, or at least what was the future back when it was made. Goku left his job of being a cop to become a freelance detective to deal with justice on his own terms for a price. He gets the eye after an altercation with the Yakuza that he only manages to survive because of the eye, which can wreak havoc across a world overly reliant on technology. Aside from that, he also gets a metallic stick that can extend to any length, Wukong style. The story begins with unexplained suicides among his former police teammates, causing him to get hired due to the absurdity of the cases. This brings him close to a crime lord named Haruko, and also leads him to a violent situation that he's saved from once his left eye gets swapped for his cybernetic one. In true 80s OVA style, one of Haruko's abilities is to use hypnosis to make women take their clothes off. Meanwhile, the sister of one of the suicide victims claims that her brother is still alive, and Goku tries to help her out by tracking information across the planet thanks to his eye, which can get the job done for him. Meanwhile, the powerful corporate figure and megalomaniac industrialist known as Dr. Silent was allegedly behind everything, as she had been conducting illegal experiments on humans, which a woman named Ryoko, who had seduced Goku, was a victim of. She had been doing so as she was a megalomaniac industrialist who wanted to use mind control to forcefully enhance humans for the sake of creating a powerful army with cybernetic soldiers. This premise leads to Goku fighting off robot guards, cybernetically enhanced humans, and machines controlled by artificial intelligence. In time, Goku discovers a wider conspiracy, one where the police officers were killed because they just knew too much, which he finds out about after infiltrating Dr. Silent's complex. As the story reaches its climax, Goku uses his cybernetic eye to overload all the systems and destroys Silent's lab, thereby killing her. Meanwhile, the horrors lead to Ryoko killing herself as she couldn't withstand the guilt of being complicit in Silent's actions, which led to the death of the policemen, even though she was a victim herself. As a film noir, the miniseries had a gritty and violent atmosphere. It doesn't shy away from nudity either, but one of the primary points of the film is to show the dangers of technology in the most brutal ways possible. Devilman: The Birth. Anything Devilman is always full of gore, nudity, and violence. Case in point being the 2018 Netflix release Devilman Crybaby. Naturally, its 1987 version doesn't shy away from the controversial portrayals either. This story by Go Nagai follows the life of a teenager, Akira Furo, who goes from being a passive high schooler to the host body for a powerful demon named Amon. But due to Akira being able to control Amon thanks to his kind nature, which suppresses Amon's cruelty, he becomes a hybrid figure known as the titular Devilman. The OVA kicks off in the Mesozoic era, the one which followed the Jurassic and ended with the extinction of the dinosaurs. Divine creatures descend upon Earth from the sky in a part of the Mesozoic world which is currently in Japan. Meanwhile, this world is home to demons, and the creatures were sent by God for the sake of cleansing his land of demonkind. A violent confrontation takes place between the divine angels and the demons, with Satan proving to be the traitor among the angels and sending the demons into an icy hibernation, one which they don't come out of for thousands of years. Time jumps to the present, or in this case 1987, where we meet the mild-mannered Akira Fudo. He's tending to the rabbits at his school, all of which are dead, barring one distraught exception. Akira tries to console the sole survivor when he gets attacked by thugs. The gang leader, Masa, demands the rabbit, and Akira refuses, getting beaten up violently for his troubles. Yet Akira doesn't budge. When his friend Miki appears, the gang disperses. Miki then takes care of Akira and they go back to her house. Soon after, Akira's old friend Ryo returns and takes him to his place. Akira is made to wear a strange demonic mask. Doing so unleashes visions of bloodshed, gore, and demons upon the sweet innocent boy, leading to Ryo telling him about the existence of demons. Soon after, a sonic scream by a demon blows out the windows, and they go on to be attacked by the likes of a squid-like female known as Tech, followed by a spider demoness known as Gardalza. The duo escapes in Ryo's car, and eventually, Ryo reveals how they can fight a demon. And the first thing he does as a Devilman is pull the head of a she-demon known as Welvath right off her shoulders. With his new powers, Akira goes berserk, ruthlessly slaughtering all the demons in his field of vision and overpowering them with ease thanks to Amon's superior strength. But he soon finds himself in a pool of blood while his best friend Ryo has been crushed by a demon, bringing this film to an end. Of course, we now know what ends up happening with Ryo being Satan and all, which was depicted even in the 1972 anime, but this 1987 film doesn't dive into that at all. Either way, the film is still very violent and brutal, even for a horror film. Golgo 13, The Professional, 1983. And finally, we close this list with the 1983 film Golgo 13, The Professional. Directed by Osamu Dezaki, the story is based on Takao Saito's manga and revolves around a cold assassin known as Duke Togo, or the titular Golgo 13. The film opens with Golgo 13 taking down an unknown target and then getting hired to kill Robert Dawson. This is a high-profile case as Robert is the son of oil tycoon Leonard Dawson. Needless to say, Golgo 13 finishes up his job. He then gets hired to kill a mob boss named Dr. Z by Bishop Moretti, but Golgo 13 cannot pull this off right off the bat, so he starts with befriending his daughter Cindy to get close to her. However, Cindy's thugs try to kill him. Because he's a ruthless and calculated assassin, Golgo 13 emerges victorious in the aftermath of the assault. Eventually, he realizes that Cindy too is hell-bent on killing Golgo 13, but obviously doesn't know that the man in front of him is the man she wants dead. For the sake of his job, Golgo 13 kills her. This is followed by a mysterious group launching an attack on him, which he manages to escape. The film takes us around a lot more violent assassinations involving this highly professional assassin. We learn that Bishop Moretti's assistant, Pego, has been tortured and fatally wounded. The church is then blown up while Golgo 13's other contact, the Clockmaker, has been murdered. And all of this is happening due to their connection to Golgo 13, who learns from a dying Clockmaker that a dangerous organization is tailing him. Leonard Dawson also wants to exact revenge for the death of his son and has hired people from the Army, CIA, and FBI to finish off Golgo 13. To make the job more efficient, a plan is made to pit these three assassins against the genetically altered Snake, who has also been tasked with killing Golgo 13. As the three assassins battle Snake, the latter emerges victorious with the other three being wiped out. Golgo 13 goes on to kill a former Nazi SS captain called Bernard Mueller in San Francisco. Snake ends up murdering Golgo's ally Rita, who had modified his M16. Eventually, Golgo 13 gets caught up in a car accident after a chase. A vengeful Dawson continues to remain hell-bent on destroying the assassin, allowing Snake to sexually assault his late son's wife, Laura. He then sends his granddaughter and her butler to the airport to kill Golgo 13 with a firearm concealed in her doll. But the altercation ends with Golgo 13 killing the butler and walking away calmly. He eventually learns that the hits on him were ordered by Dawson, who takes Golgo 13's wife and children for ransom. The assassin crashes into Dawson Tower in his motorcycle and toys with the helicopters Dawson sent to kill him. He then engages in a brutal action sequence with Snake, but despite an injury, he gets Snake killed as he hides from a helicopter shot meant for him, which ends up claiming Snake's life. Dawson's mercenaries, Gold and Silver, end up joining the party against our titular assassin, but this battle ends with him stuffing a grenade in Silver's mouth and shooting Gold dead, once again securing his victory by hook or by crook. In a turn of events, we learn that it was pointless for Dawson to want revenge as Golgo 13 was hired by Robert Dawson himself. He believed he couldn't live up to the legacy of his father and wanted to take his own life. He chose to do so by paying Golgo 13 to do the job, and so he did. In the end, Leonard Dawson jumped out of the window. Before he could die from his fall, Golgo 13 shot him dead, but the police ruled it out as an accident. In the end, he comes across Robert's wife Laura, who has turned to prostitution. She blames him for her miserable change in fate and tries to shoot him, but Golgo 13 walks away as the film comes to an end. From a storytelling point of view, Golgo 13 is one of, if not the most sophisticated work on this list. It's violent, not for the sake of shock factor or due to the fact that you could get away with anything in an 80s OVA, but it fits the plot. The point of the film is to show how Golgo 13's ruthless line of work causes a ripple effect in the lives of those he kills for a paycheck. Marvelous verdict! It's the shock factor of violence that's part of the appeal. We like to see what's taboo. In reality, most of us would throw up at the sight of guts spilling out and be perpetually traumatized if we saw someone getting assaulted by a tentacle creature from a demonic dimension. This sort of media, although controversial, itches our curiosity by showing us what we're scared to comprehend. And with that, today's video comes to an end. What did you think of these 10 anime? Did you enjoy this video? If so, then don't forget to like and comment down below. Until next time, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.